Eclipse season opens up on Tuesday, October 25th with a solar eclipse in Scorpio. Scorpio is the sign of transformation, and this eclipse conjoins Venus, asking us to release and let go of the old ways of relating to ourselves and others. Let's take a closer look. My name is Anastasia. I'm a traditional Western astrologer specializing in natal, relationship, and predictive readings. If you're new here, please subscribe, leave me a like or a comment. I really appreciate that, and it helps my channel grow. And if you'd like to work with me, there are links down below. I am currently doing the eclipse season special, meaning you can get $30 off my readings to get some guidance about the eclipse or any other matter that you're questioning in your life. Quick promo, I have created planetary magic items, the candles and the oils for two planets, Mercury while it was still in Virgo. So this is great for focus, concentration, clear speech and writing, both the oil and the candle. And there's also a Venus oil and candle. This is Venus in Libra oil and candle, and Venus is the planet of harmony, beauty, and love. So lighting up this candle or using the oil could be wonderful for helping you get in touch with Venusian energy within you and in the ether around you. So the eclipse season, right? Don't be scared, as always. Eclipses are times of karmic balancing. We as astrologers always tell people to not do any manifestation work and just trust that the universe is doing some karmic rebalancing and it has the plan for you. So like, trust the universe, trust the plan. This eclipse happens at 6:48 a.m. on Tuesday, October 25th at 2 degrees Scorpio. And it conjoins Venus. So there's a very kind of like triple conjunction of the sun, the moon, Venus on the south node. And Venus being involved brings topics of relating, right? Like, we are fresh off Libra season at this point. Venus and the sun traveled together in Libra. There was a lot of air energy, a lot of relating and relationship questions. So here we are in the eclipse season, and maybe some of the things you've been doing no longer serve you, and some of them need to be changed and adjusted. This might also have to do with beauty, appearances, creative matters, and of course, Venus feels like very much relationships. If you have planets in the first 4 degrees of Scorpio, Taurus, Aquarius, and Leo, this might affect you the most. But of course, eclipses are a big deal, so it will affect all of us. So what is a solar eclipse in general, right? Like, solar eclipse is a new moon. It's the time when the sun and the moon conjoin, but the proximity to the south node, or the way the sun, the moon, and the earth are aligned, means that the new moon, like, you know, the shadow of the moon falls on the face of the sun. And so we get the moon eclipsing the sun, or the shadow of the moon eclipsing the sun. So it is a new moon, but it's a lot more dramatic. We get these once every 6 months. It's a lot more karmic. It's a lot more important. So you can expect new beginnings. The fact that it's a south node solar eclipse is a bit contradictory. We get these often, but south node is about release. South node is about old karma, something that tangles us down but no longer feels coherent to who we are at the core. And so here we are getting new beginnings, but we're getting them at the cost of releasing something. And that is not always easy, right? Scorpio as a sign is also not the easiest sign. And so we've had Libra season. Now with this eclipse, we're in Scorpio season. And we get this, hooray, welcome Scorpio season, with Mars about to station retrograde. So it might be like a very serious tonal shift where you are now looking at your limitations, at your fears, at your obsessions and wounds, and questioning what can you let go, what can you let die in order for the new you to be reborn. And of course, with like Scorpio and with martial energy, there's like fire and it burns, right? Even though Scorpio is a water sign, but like poisonous water set on fire. It's gonna be great, you guys. It's gonna be great. I mean, you know, there's going to be some like burning away of the old version of you. So don't be afraid of looking at the darkness. Don't be pushing it aside and trying to get yourself to feel better. Like, look at it, but be conscious, be careful. South Node also is all about spiritual new beginnings. So it's not material things, right? Like North Node is in Taurus. We're going to get a full moon, lunar eclipse in Taurus in November. More on that later. But here it's like new beginnings of a spiritual kind, of a soulful kind. And because we are in this North Node Taurus, South Node Scorpio axis, we are still very much, a lot of our focus is still on the Taurus house in our chart, and there's still a lot of new beginnings there, right? Like the easiest example would be like if you are a Scorpio rising, right? And North Node is in the 7th house and you have gotten into a new relationship, and there's just a lot of new beginnings, commitment, meeting the family, engagement, anything like that. But there's still some inner work. There's still some fears. There's still some, or also even things you have to let go of, right? Like maybe you have to release your independence. Maybe you have to let go of your piano because it doesn't fit in the new home. I mean, if you love your piano, don't let it go. But like, you get what I mean, right? Just like some things that need to be transformed on a personal level before you can go towards those new beginnings. So yeah, like look at the Taurus house in your chart and see what are you changing in order to get you closer to that Taurus goal. And Venus, like I said, Venus being connected to this eclipse also makes me think of beauty and relationships and relating to others, and how sometimes in order to build better relationships, you need to release your old fears, right? Or you need to release excess. You need to release dependencies on other people sometimes, maybe. It just, yeah, like let me know how this resonates in the comments below, especially as I start going through the rising signs. But you are very much working internally. There's a lot of introspection. There's a lot of facing fears, internal darkness, secrets, subconscious urges, right? Like Venus is not really strong in Scorpio, and neither is the moon. And all that means is that like Scorpio is this deep well of feelings, and the moon can get stuck feeling all the feelings, and Venus can get stuck remembering all the hurts, all the slights, being too cautious and too protective. But there's a new beginning there. So with Scorpio, with the higher vibing Scorpio, it's always all about controlling self. It's about realizing that the only person you truly can work with and truly have influence on is you. And so as much as you can, work on yourself, focus on releasing the bad tendencies, bad habits, and let yourself feel, but know that, you know, feelings will pass and there's also beauty in the world. Okay, let's take a look at the rising signs and see what this might bring for you. And please let me know in the comments below if this is resonating or how you see this Taurus-Scorpio axis playing out for you. So for Aries rising, we have a solar eclipse in the 8th house. It is ruled by Mars in the 3rd, about to station retrograde. So solar eclipse in the 8th house. 8th house is the place of shared resources. It's the place where you put your money, your time, your energy together with other people. And with the eclipse here, you may be paying off some debts, right? Like you may be starting new relationships, but you may also need to look at your agreements with other people. And the fact that Mars is the ruler in the 3rd house, I wonder if you are rethinking your agreements and your relationship and your give and take dynamics with your siblings, your neighbors, your roommates. any like sibling-like relationships may be up for review right now, where you have to like look at perhaps even your own tendency to be maybe, I don't know if it's passive aggressive, but just like trying to like allowing things to slip under the rug. Maybe it's about your relationship too, right? Like 8th house is your partner's money. So there might be like a sense of like needing to change things, needing to have a conversation, needing to release bad relationships, needing to release bad agreements, and just like maybe you're talking to these people about the money they owe you. Maybe you're talking about your joint bank account and your spending habits. So could be the time to move on and start something exciting, like a start new partnership, or improve the existing partnership. Your partner's finances might also be going through a transformation, and the partner, if you're not in a relationship, could be any kind of, you know, work marriage situation, or maybe your mother is your partner or something like that. So yeah, like they can be going through a transformation of some kind. For Taurus rising, there's a solar eclipse in the 7th house. It is ruled by Mars in the 2nd. So for Taurus rising, obviously there's been a lot of personal developments, a lot of personal new beginnings, like new career matters, new paths, new pursuits. And this solar eclipse is asking you to look at your house of relationships. And as you change, look at how your relationships are changing. Are they keeping up with your progress, or do they need to be adjusted? Do they need to be addressed? There might be a sense with this, like with this solar eclipse, new moon, that you need to look closely and you need to examine what no longer works in your relationship and have tough conversations. Mars is in the 2nd house, so I wonder that if this is about money or if this is about values, because maybe your values are different. Maybe you have been with your partner for a while and at first you were like, I don't want kids, you don't want kids, that's great. But now you feel like you do, and your partner is not ready to change, or they still stick to their guns. So just questioning those kind of things. Are you compatible? Can you make the relationship better? Or maybe even, you know, it's like you're a Taurus rising, but your 7th house is Scorpio. Like, what kind of fears do you have? How are you holding back? How are you not being, you know, fully intimate with your partner? What are you protecting? And how can you maybe let that go in order to welcome a better, more intimate, more authentic relationship? For Gemini rising, there's a solar eclipse in the 6th house, and it is ruled by Mars in the 1st house. Solar eclipse in the 6th house might encourage you to address health matters, like health topics, health issues that you may be dealing with. With Mars stationing retrograde in the 1st house, your energy levels might not be as, you know, active. There might be a sense of like, what's worth investing my time into. So with the solar eclipse in the 6th, there might be a health crisis that calls your attention and asks you to look at your health closely and maybe figure out a better way of taking care of yourself. It doesn't have to be a major thing. There might just be like a sense of, you know, you go up the stairs and you lose your breath and you realize that this is the time to start working out, for example. Or there could be, my Gemini rising friend has been dealing with her kid being sick, and she was sick, and then, you know, there was like a lot of back and forth, getting sick all over again. So how can you, with Mars in the 1st house about to go retrograde, how can you bring better health habits? And how can you release some of the negative ones, right? And maybe figure out a better way of spending your energy. Because with having like a lot of Gemini in your chart, being a Gemini rising, having Mars in your 1st house, there might be a sense of like too many things pulling you in different ways. And you are encouraged to focus and limit some of the things, as well as prioritize, or I guess it's a part of that, like prioritize rest and your personal well-being. For Cancer rising, there's a solar eclipse in the 5th house, and it is ruled by Mars in the 12th house. So Solar eclipse in the 5th house could make you look at your relationships, at your romantic relationships, your relationship with your child, your creative projects. There might be some sort of transformation there. With Mars being in the 12th house, definitely a possibility, I think, for like new romantic beginnings, but Mars in the 12th to me feels like releasing some negative self-defeating tendencies, looking at how you stand in your own way, right? Like maybe you say you want a relationship, but you haven't left your house in the last 3 months or something. How are you, or even things you're telling yourself, right? Because sometimes it's not as obvious as like, oh, sign up for a dating app, but maybe it's about how you talk yourself down or things that you think about yourself. So with the ruler being in the 12th house, looking at, like how are you standing in your own way when it comes to joy, romance, creativity, and children. But literal new beginnings are also possible, like getting pregnant, starting a new relationship, starting a new creative project. I just feel like with Scorpio, something needs to die before the new thing is born, right? So even if it's a creative passion, maybe you first need to let go of a job. If it's a pregnancy, you need to let go of your time, maybe. If it's a new relationship, maybe you need to release an ex or close some kind of chapter. So there might be a little bit of like that, facing things and dealing with unhealthy ways of having fun or unhealthy ways of dating. For Leo risings, there is a solar eclipse in the 4th house. It's ruled by Mars in the 11th. So for Leo risings can expect new beginnings around home, family that are not necessarily going to be the easiest, right? This is the solar eclipse, it's Scorpio. So there is some kind of change in the family, some kind of transformation. Maybe it's time for you to move and you are leaving your nest and this feels throws you off balance, makes you feel uncomfortable. Maybe you're questioning what home is for you and what makes you feel secure, what makes you feel happy. So like I said in the beginning of this video, this could be very much about spiritual topics, right? Like what is home? Where do you feel happy? And how can you bring more of that into your life? So changes related to home, family, moving, spirituality are very likely. I wonder also if in order for you, Leo rising, to bring better relationships with family or a better living situation, you first have to face some of your fears, look at some of your childhood wounds, and see how addressing them will bring more balance. For Virgo rising, there's solar eclipse in the 3rd house, and it's ruled by Mars in the 10th. For Virgo risings, there is a change to your immediate environment. There's a change to relationships you have with people. For some of you, Mars is retrograding, about to go retrograde in your house of career and status and reputation. And there might be a sense that your career and your future requires you to get more involved with the community. 3rd house is community, immediate environment, right? Like maybe your career requires you to study something new. Maybe it requires you to connect with people in a different way. Maybe it asks you to make changes to your schedule, get some kind of new technology, change the way you communicate and do things in your daily life. Because something may feel outdated, something may feel like it no longer makes you happy. Even if it's as simple as like, you have a day job, but you also want to be a writer, and this eclipse is asking you to set an hour aside every day to write a little bit. There might also be changes in the lives of your siblings or changes in your relationship with siblings. Maybe you are transforming a negative tendency and bringing forth a better, healthier relationship. For Libra rising, there's a solar eclipse in the 2nd house, and it's ruled by Mars in the 9th. So solar eclipse in the 2nd house could be about your money And Mars being in the 9th makes me think like maybe you are rethinking how you make money. Maybe old sources of income no longer feel like satisfying. And you know, the South Node here might mean like letting go of some kind of source of income, facing your fears about stepping into a different role, right? Like Mars in the 9th house might be encouraging you to become a teacher, to go back to school, to write, to publish, to kind of present your ideas to the world. So you may need to look at your fears over here, and you may need to address how can you know, release some of those tendencies and release the desire to control everything and just like take a leap, start a business, follow your calling, become a teacher. This could be about trusting others. I think for some Libra risings, especially if you are, let's say, in a relationship, and the new moon solar eclipse in the 2nd house could be about like allowing other people to take care of you, or allowing other people help you somehow. So yeah, like your money and your values can be in for review. And let me know if you've been going through this in the comments below. For Scorpio rising, this is very significant. There's a solar eclipse in your 1st house, and 1st house eclipse feels like a cleanse, feels like a literal or emotional kind of cleanse. So you might, you know, if you're into that kind of stuff, you might like drink a lot of water, or like go on a diet, or just like do some kind of purge bad things, toxins out of your body. But it's also your call to look at yourself, right? Like there's been a lot of focus on other people for many Scorpio risings. Maybe it's other people in a sense that you have a business and you're focusing on other people. Maybe it's a new relationship. But the solar eclipse also says that like other people are great, but you only control yourself, and you need to take better care of yourself. You need to, you know, develop better habits, like take care of your health a little bit better. Mars will go retrograde in your 8th house. So I think it's also lifting up the topics of fairness and give and take, right? Like if it is about a partner, is there a fairness, or are you accommodating them too much, or are you not accommodating them enough? So there's like a need to establish better agreements. And I think make sure that you give yourself as much love as you give to your partner or your business or the project that has been occupying your mind. There might be also like a little bit of an identity crisis of like not being sure who you are, because you've been too invested in the relationship, or just overall not knowing what the next chapter will bring, or feeling fearful of the next chapter. And look closely at your fears, you know, take stock of them, but don't let them stop you from living your life and pursuing your dreams. For Sagittarius rising, there is a solar eclipse in the 12th house, and it's ruled by Mars, about to go retrograde in your 7th house. Solar eclipse in the 12th might make you look at things you don't like to look at. So describing 12th house is always like poking in the dark a little bit, because it's like, it's the dark house, right? Like what are you describing exactly? But dealing with like self-defeating tendencies, it's Mars is about to go retrograde in your 7th house, right? So what is happening in your relationships that needs attention? Are you speaking up? Are you addressing things that are frustrating to you? Are you talking openly about the future? Are you asking the partner where we stand, right? Like, are there any past relationships that you are still holding on to, or like an ex that you're looking at? So this might be very much about like looking at your health, and it could be a literal health issue, like, you know, drinking a lot, but it could also be more mental health, like obsessing over something, not expressing yourself, and needing to transform some of that. This could also be a great time to introduce some kind of spiritual practice, like start doing yoga or meditate or journal or start therapy, because this could be very beneficial for you at this time. For Capricorn rising, there is a solar eclipse in the 11th house with Mars as the ruler about to go retrograde in the 6th house. So for Capricorn rising, it's all about new dreams, new pursuits, new friendships, new groups of people that you connect with that make you feel like you belong. But because it's a solar eclipse in this and the South Node is here, there might be certain like crises that you have to face, right? Like maybe it's a conflict with a friend that you have to address that brings you closer. Maybe it's a sense of like needing to go out of your comfort zone to find a new group of friends, or like a substitute group of friends that supports you better. It might, to me, also like have to do with like overcoming your fears and going after things that you desire, following new dreams, reinventing your career, right? Like Venus is conjunct the eclipse. Venus rules your 10th house. So pivoting, changes, new beginnings professionally that lead to better relationships, that lead to better schedule, you know, better like work relationships, but may kind of like ask you to release certain things. And might even be as simple as like, or I don't know if that's simple, but like you want to pursue this new project, but you first have to say goodbye to the old project and the people that you have grown to love and the people that maybe depend on you. So there might be like a sense of overcoming something. For Aqua rising, there's a solar eclipse in the 10th house. So this is very much about professional matters, professional new beginnings. It is ruled by Mars in the 5th house, about to go retrograde. So Mars in the 5th house can be a sign of you feeling like there isn't enough joy, or you trying to find more joy, you trying to connect with the child in you, or connect with the children overall. And perhaps you need to release something professionally because it's like Scorpio transformation. Perhaps you need to deal with the crises at work or some kind of crises in your life that makes you realize this is not what I want to do. This is not a relationship I want to have. This no longer makes me happy. And following dreams and pursuits that actually do. Maybe, you know, overcoming your fears, overcoming your insecurities, questioning what is it that actually makes you feel valued and happy professionally, because maybe you used to believe that it's about big paycheck, but you realize that no, it's actually about feeling valued and appreciated at the end of the day. I also can see for some Aqua risings like a possibility to work from home or do some teaching, or maybe like even needing to go back to school in order to pursue your new, and maybe that's the fear. Maybe you feel like you are in your 50s and it's too late to go back to school, which it's not. So there might be certain like fears that you have to address. And finally, for Pisces rising, there is a solar eclipse in the 9th house ruled by Mars in the 4th house. Solar eclipse in the 9th house could be very much about what you believe about yourself, what you believe about others. But yeah, like how much faith do you have in yourself and in your ability to persevere and in your ability to become who you want to become. So you may have to address some fears. And because it's ruled by Mars in the 4th, take a look at what your parents were telling you. Take a look at what your parents believe about themselves and see how maybe you are doing the same thing they were doing and maybe somehow adopting unhealthy habits that they have. There might be changes related to education, like becoming a teacher, going back to school, travel, like moving abroad, for example, legal matters, being a lawyer, becoming a lawyer, and publishing or marketing, like presenting your work to the world, and perhaps questioning what your message is and what you want to be known for, right? And let me know how this resonates in the comments below, and have a lovely solar eclipse in Scorpio. This, you know, we are definitely going through a change. We're moving from the light and airy Libra season into a Scorpio season, but every season has beauty to it. And I think this eclipse, if approached with grace and patience and kindness and self-love, could be very beneficial and very growth inducing. So have a great solar eclipse. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.